I'll begin by telling you who I am. I'm Linda Hernandez. I am Hispanic, third generation. My parents come from the Rio Grande Valley in Texas. My grandfather, oddly enough, I just learned this year that he was born in 1869, and I still can't get my mind around that because that's over 100 and some odd years ago. So, but he was a law enforcement officer along the border, probably one of the first Mexican-American law officers for the United States. And his brother, Juan and Gabriel, were both working the border back at the turn of the 20th century. So I come from a long line of Hispanics, even though people, when I approach them about this Hispanic coalition, ask me, well, why are you with them? I mean, do you even speak Spanish? I said, yeah, that was my first language. Eric Rourke is the Director of Research for Federation of American Immigration Reform, FAIR. Eric was born on the Eastern Shore near Salisbury and has lived within Maryland most of his life, including Annapolis, College Park, and Frederick. He was trained as a historian and came to FAIR after experiencing firsthand the U.S.'s broken immigration system while attending the University of Maryland in Prince George's County, a sanctuary county. He is responsible for FAIR's research and publications, as well as providing education on immigration-related issues to the public and on policymakers. Mr. Eric Rourke, right here in the middle. And Juan Leo Salazar has been a loyal Republican for many years. He had a position under the Bush administration. He was the White House Office for Presidential Personnel. He worked for the Department of Education. He's the director of the U.S. Commission on Minorities, Business Development in Washington, D.C., and an RNC consultant. He's owner of the Salazar Group political consultant company. And Mr. Salazar was very active working with us during the early campaign with the Hispanic Coalition. And last but not least, we have Ms. Paula Bongino, wife of U.S. Senate candidate Dan Bongino. She has agreed to come and talk to us about her perspective. She's an immigrant from Colombia, and she will give you a little bit more information as we begin our panel.
Hi, my name is Paula Bongino, and I just want to thank you for inviting me to speak today. I am here to tell you a little bit about me and my story and how I ended up in this wonderful country. I was born in Colombia, and when I was young, back in the 1980s, my mom looked around her, and Colombia back then was a bad place to live. There was a lot of violence, and the economy was pretty bad. She looked around her, and she decided that she wanted a better future for her kids. So she saved all her money. She sold every piece of jewelry that she had, and with some help from family, she packed us all up. I have a brother and a sister, so she packed up her 3 kids, and she brought us to the United States to start a new life. So when we got here, we thought we were going to have this great, wonderful life, but it wasn't that way. It was hard. We got here, we didn't speak a word of English, and my mother was, she didn't speak a word of English, so she worked for minimum wage, cleaning airplanes, as Annie has mentioned before. So it was a hard time for all of us, but she says you gotta learn the language, and so she had this rule for us: no Spanish in the house. We were only allowed to speak English, which we didn't know a word, so we just couldn't speak. And every day she bought us a newspaper, and we had to read the newspaper. She got us tons of books, and she let us watch TV, only in English, so that we could learn. 2 months later, we were translating for her. So my mother is a huge believer in working hard. She worked 1, 2, and sometimes 3 jobs when she had to. So that's how I ended up in this great country, and now I guess I'm living my American dream, because I live in this beautiful house, and I have a beautiful daughter, and I'm expecting another little girl in January, and I'm married to this wonderful guy who is running for U.S. Senate.
I'm Eric Ruark, the Director of Research for the Federation for American Immigration Reform. Some of you may have heard of us. Some of you may actually know what exactly that we do, as opposed to what you have heard about us. We've been around for 32 years now. We started in 1979, and we were founded by people who were concerned about population growth and its impact on the environment. And I've talked to some of the founding members, and their thinking was they would educate politicians on immigration, population growth, environmental impact, and then they move on and say the spotted owl, whatever it was that they were going to do. So 32 years later, I'm here saying that FAIR advocates for a system, an immigration system that benefits American people first and foremost, and that we want to work towards achieving population stability. And we are on a path right now. We very easily could reach 1 billion people by the end of the century. Most people don't think about that. But in the last 10 years, we grew by almost 30 million people, and that's a lot. And when we talk about immigration policy, we always want to say, well, what effect does that have on our population? Or we talk about immigration policy, what effect does that have on population? You know, what are the ramifications of the current system? And politicians always say that the system is broken, but they don't really explain what that means. And if you press them further, they say this is a nation of immigrants, which is true, but really that's not the basis for an immigration policy. And what FAIR advocates for is a secure border, and we certainly have the resources to secure the border. We lack the political will in Washington, D.C. to secure the border. We also want to make sure that people who come in legally, and Americans have always welcomed immigrants, and we want to continue to do so. I think there's an issue now where Americans sometimes worry about when they see an immigrant, are they legal or not? And that's not a question that should be in anyone's mind when they meet someone. It's not how we welcome people. It's not how our immigration system should be. That question should never arise. But we have a problem because our government has failed us. And that's a situation that we need to correct. And we need to put pressure on politicians in both parties to stop telling us this system is broken and start fixing the system. We also want mandatory E-Verify. We recognize that Americans have always done these jobs, will always do these jobs, but we also recognize that employers are exploiting illegal workers, and that is the absolute truth. And the excuse that politicians and business people use sometimes is that they can't find other workers and they have no choice. But you always have a choice about whether or not you're going to exploit a worker, and you always have a choice about whether or not you're going to pay someone a living wage, or to pay your taxes, or to pay unemployment insurance, and all of those things. These are choices that employers have made. We want to hold employers who break the law accountable. The other thing that we would like to see is legal immigration reduced, which might not be something that gets a lot of support here in this room, but that is, we want it to be 300,000 a year, down from about 1.1 million that it currently is legally. Because our goal is population stability. We think people from all over the world should come here. We want to welcome people from all over the world. We want to make sure that our immigration system works for the interest of U.S. citizens. And U.S. citizens have the right to determine who comes here and how many. And that is what we've been saying for 32 years, and that's what we'll continue to say until we actually get a policy that does work for us. Thank you.
Linda, thank you for having me again. Hello, everybody. I'll be brief. The issue with immigration is an issue that didn't start yesterday. It started many years ago. We just let it go. We just forgot about it. Now, the last couple of years has been a big issue. Peruvian born. I came to this country again when I was about 5 years old. My dad was working for the Peruvian embassy. And like it goes, you like the country, you stay, you go to school, you get married, you got kids. But when it really hit me was when a couple of weeks ago I got stopped. This is, like I said, I like to be brief. I got stopped by a Howard County police. I didn't shave. I wasn't well dressed. And he went and said, can I see your driver's license, registration? I didn't have my driver's license. I was driving my wife's car. I don't carry my wallet with me. Now I do. I leave my wallet in the car. Obviously, he told me to get out from the car. And he asked me what was my name. Of course, I was trying to not to have an accent, because I'm very proud to have an accent. Sometimes I said, my name is Juan Leo Salazar, and I live here in Columbia, Maryland, 5 minutes away from the mall. I guess to him it sounded like I was trying to, something that I learned. I guess he took me into his car. I wasn't really scared because I knew that in the long run I'll be okay. I said, may I call my wife? Obviously he said no. And that's when the more that I was getting into it, the more upset I was getting inside. I could not do anything. In 2 minutes, there was another police car that came. And then I asked him if I can call my wife again. He said yes. I told her where I was. I'm here on 198. She came, she brought my wallet. And you know what he did? I showed him my driver's license, he called it in. He went into his car and he went away. He didn't say, excuse me, he didn't say goodbye, he just left. So, being an old guy, in something like this that happened to a citizen, because I am a United States citizen, it bothered me. Then I said, when Lina sent me that email about immigration, I said, boy, maybe I can do something, because Republicans, we're not that bad. We can do things better. Of course, my wife was really upset. She got the kids in the car, but he just left. He just went into his car, and not even goodbye. And that's one of the reasons that I'm here tonight. So maybe all of us can kind of work a little bit. This immigration issue has been going on for years. That maybe there's nothing we can do about it, but for the time being, elections are coming in. Maybe we should get to the questions, because it really touched me when that happened to me. I'm sure it will happen to other people that are like myself, the citizens, maybe didn't shave, and the police will go into that profile that he looks dark-skinned Latino, but let me stop and try my luck. Thank you.